have preserved the peace and freedom of Europe since the beginning of the Cold War.
You're agreeing with me.
They preserved our own.
Averell Harriman and George Kennan and great statesmen are now writing articles saying never before have we been closer to nuclear war. Never before have we had a president who's never negotiated with the Soviet leaders in the nuclear age.
Why do you think the American people so admire and like Ronald Reagan that right now he's running 26 points ahead of Walter Mondale?
61% of Americans think if he's re-elected, he'll bring us into a major conflict. I spent an hour and a quarter with him in the White House.
Do you think he's going to win?
I clinically concur with that feeling. People have to understand that this president is the most dangerous president we've ever had.
Wait a minute, you spent an hour with him and you
I read the whole interview.
I'm interested. What made you think so?
Because every statement he made to me was factually inaccurate. He told me the Russians are totally evil, godless communists, so I naturally asked him if he'd ever met one, and he said no, he hadn't.
But did you tell him they were good people?
Then he got a little piece of paper out of his pocket, and he read to me that people who work for the nuclear freeze are either KGB dupes or Soviet agents. And I said, but that's from the Reader's Digest. And it was. And he said, no, it's from my intelligence files.
He didn't, Nigel.
And then his daughter said, Daddy, I know what Dr. Caldicott is saying is correct because I have a 1982 Pentagon document to prove it. And he looked at his daughter and he said, that's a forgery. There was an article in Time magazine this week which said, the president said recently that ICBMs are more dangerous than cruise missiles and bombers because only ICBMs carry nuclear weapons.
He said that?
He said that. It's in Time
All right,
magazine.
more about Ronald Reagan.
Bohemian Grove in your book.
Well,
Let me mention what Bohemian Grove
what it
is a club for, I guess, by and large, the senior bulls of the Republican Party. Usually it's an all-men's club on the Russian River up north of San Francisco where they go for an encampment. And
I've been there twice, Pat.
You've been there?
Yeah, invited.
You're more establishment than I thought, Braden. I've never been there. Dr. Caldicott, what is...
Patrick?
Of course not.
No,
They wouldn't.
thought they would have
Populists like
invited
me. Populists like me. What's wrong with this big exclusive men's club that you should knock it in a book called Missile Envy?
Well, there are no women allowed, not even as waitresses or servants or anything else. It's totally male. And Kissinger and Schmidt and Nixon and Ford and the heads of the major companies go. And they're there for about 2 weeks, and they have a celebration at first, a big plane. It's called, what is it, you have to
Care. Get where we bury care?
Fairy care or something like that. And the men dress up in little fairy costumes and ballet costumes and dance around as women. They have big orchestras.
Scandal here in the making?
A lot of business deals, a lot of politics is worked out there, and there are absolutely no women. And I use that as an example where the positive feminine principle of the anima is excluded. They're all men doing masculine deals, and there are no women there at all. And I criticized them, and I said they should allow women in there.
As a practical matter, if you put women in there, the wives would really complain.
This country is run by rich, white, old men. True or false?
Look, the country is run obviously by people who are older. By and large, they're white. By and large, they're well-to-do, and by and large, they're rich. You're right.
And they're men.
By and large, yes.
Right, so what the women have to do, if they want their babies to survive and their children, is to get involved in the political process.
Why don't you think...
Who set up the arms race? The politicians, who are mostly men, the corporations, who are mostly men...
Why did they do it? Why did they do it?
And the Congress, who are mostly men.
No, just a minute.
Tell us why Truman and Eisenhower did it.
We now have some congresswomen. We have some senators who are women. But have you noticed any great difference between, say, Nancy Kassenbaum and Senator Mathias?
No, that's a good question. And a lot of women who want to become powerful join the masculine ethic. I see it in my profession, in medicine. They become like males, as Maggie Thatcher has. I'm talking about women
who've got
to hang on to their feminine feeling and nurturing and loving and caring.
Dr. Caldicott,
Maggie Thatcher and Patrick Cannon are two of a kind.
A horrible
She's
libel.
only a man, yeah.
A horrible libel, though, on American men when you suggest that they do not give enough of a damn about their children, that they would launch an arms race for money when they knew they were risking their lives and destruction. You libel Eisenhower and Truman and Kennedy and secretaries of defense and state, Republican and Democrat. They're interested in protecting their country and their country's children.
They're all proving their masculinity. If you read articles about...
I see something in it. Yeah, it is true. It is certainly
I shouldn't
true.
have asked.
To a degree, Pat.
If you read articles about countries who've gone to war, they're proving their virility. And there are articles where if a country decides to go for peace, they're sissy, they've lost their masculinity, etc. I mean, it's all there. Look
Your
how
story in your book about Hitler and Goring was fascinating. Tell us
yeah,
that.
that's a good one.
I saw the thing about the stiff arm salute.
Yeah,
holding it.
Hitler was interviewed by a woman, and he said, I can hold my arm hard like this for 2 hours, and Goring can only do it for half an hour. What's that all about?
I'll tell you what it's all about. Let me ask you what happened to the
You tell
countries.
me.
What happened to the countries that looked at Adolf Hitler and decided to trust in him and practice the feminine principle and sign non-aggression pacts with him?
Yes, they got defeated, but it's
Not only defeated.
Yes, it's the nuclear age, Patrick, and Einstein said the splitting of the atom changed everything, save man's
All right, let me ask you something.
thinking.
If you could have stopped the Holocaust in Germany, if we developed the atomic bomb in 1944, and you could have stopped the Holocaust in Normandy and all those Russians dying and Brits by dropping the atomic bomb on the funeral of the general, the Desert Fox, Rommel, killed all the Nazis with one atomic bomb, would you not have done it?
Let's think that Hitler had weapons like Russia has and we have weapons like we do. Was Hitler mad or not, Patrick?
Well, Hitler was
Hitler
racing to
mad?
get the nuclear
Would
weapon.
Hitler have...
No, I don't. I mean, in a way, he's mad, in a way, he's not.
Yeah, would Hitler have used nuclear weapons, Patrick?
He wouldn't have used them if we had them. He
How
didn't
do you
use,
know?
because
How
he
do
didn't
you
use
know?
poison gas when
Was
the
he
British
mad?
had it. The British had poison gas and he had it. He did not use it because
Would
he was afraid
Stalin
it
have
would be used on
used
them.
them?
He didn't execute American and British prisoners of war because he knew we had theirs.
Would Stalin have used them?
Stalin would have used it if nobody else had it. If we had it, as we did the atomic bomb,
You sure?
he didn't use it.
You sure?
Because he didn't use it, sure.
Yeah, but
Experience.
we don't know
Well,
because
but Pat had a
human
good
beings
point.
are fallible and
Pat
they
had-
make mistakes and they
Pat
go
had a good
crazy.
point about Dr. Baines and about Daladier and about the statesmen who surrounded and Chamberlain. Do you think Chamberlain had the feminine characteristics that you recommend?
He may, but he was a naive politician. But that is a pre-nuclear age, and we're talking about blowing up the earth. And the fact is that man can no longer fight, and the only weapon he can use is this. It's called the larynx. And that's why women are leading this movement, because we're good with the larynx and we're good with conflict resolution. Any war in the world now could induce a nuclear war. In Lebanon, there were 3 American aircraft carriers anchored off the coast, armed with nuclear weapons.
Right.
The Syrians were armed with Soviet precision-guided missiles. What would the president have done should the Syrians have sunk an American aircraft carrier with a Soviet missile? Each conflict around the world, the Persian Gulf, Central America, Lebanon, holds the seeds of a thermonuclear holocaust. War is obsolete.
Well,
Do we learn that
I would
in
agree
time
that
to
each
save
conflict holds the
ourselves
seeds.
or
Each
not?
conflict holds the seeds. It's a terribly dangerous world. But what I wish you'd see is that the only reason that we have not blown up the world, which God forbid, is that we both have them.
Well, if we had, and we were now floating around in heaven, would we be able to write the history of why we had? Look, we're living on the knife edge every minute. That's a lousy argument to say we're getting all these nuclear weapons and it's preventing us having a nuclear war. We're getting all the
Well, I
nuclear
don't think
weapons.
we need all of them, but we need a deterrent.
How well
We're
is your...
heading towards total annihilation of maybe the only life in the whole universe. And an admiral called me the other day, terribly alarmed.
Which
He
one?
said the talk, I'll tell you in a minute, the talk out in the military field at the moment is that they have accepted nuclear war will occur within the next 10 years. A woman working in the Detroit Free Press interviewed a whole lot of people in the think tanks, the military think tanks. They've accepted the same thing. The weapons that are being built now and being authorized by the Congress will in the future, if we allow them to go ahead, make nuclear war a mathematical certainty. The Pershing II going into West Germany hits Moscow in 6 minutes.
Well, so does a Russian submarine
Therefore-
missile off the American coast. We can hit Moscow in 10 minutes from Holy Lock.
Right.
We have for the last 30 years.
6 minutes. Now,
Right.
at that time, there's no time for human intervention in the decision loop, which means the computer will be programmed to press the button. That's called launch on warning. The computers in the Pentagon keep making mistakes, thinking we're under nuclear attack. One mistake lasted 6 minutes. So as the number of computer errors increases and as the transit time for the weapons decrease, a mathematician has done a study to show it will be only a matter of time before accidental nuclear war occurs. We're heading into the realm of accidental
All right,
nuclear
quickly,
war.
what would you do about it?
I would get a freeze in a year. The Russians want one. They proposed one in the UN. The whole world voted for it. We voted against it. 80% of Americans want it. In the next 2 years, George Kennan's proposal, 50% cut in all nuclear weapons and delivery systems bilaterally. And in the next 2 years, 2/3 cuts of the remainder. I would eliminate nuclear weapons bilaterally by the year 1990. It's medically
Okay,
indicated.
Dr. Caldicott.
We almost got that developed, and we can get a little bit of assistance from your crowd. will have a missile defense and get out of this mutual assured
Star
destruction.
Wars again. From the left, I'm Tom Braden.